Just a
pretty
quick
nice.
run. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, the High Guy Jacobs, and today we're taking a look at another episode of Who TF Are You? And on this week's installment, we have the one and only Freya joining us here today. Freya, thank you very much for joining us. Go ahead and say hello and give us a little bit of information about you.
Hello, everyone, and yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I am. Yeah, my name is Freya, and I live in the UK. Been on the game for about a year. I live in yeah. Um, so what more do you want to know?
That's actually pretty good. You've been in the game for about a year. You live in the UK, so you're working on UK time. And
Yeah, I am.
what's your current might
I
at right
am.
now, Freya?
My current might is hold on, 190 million.
190 million. Holy shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah, I kind of cheated though. Maybe not cheated, but yeah.
What do you mean you
Yeah.
cheated?
Where you got to pay to be strong. So
That's not cheating. That's just part of the game.
yeah, it is. It is. But yeah. Yeah. It is pretty nice to go from like T4s and T5s to T6s, and you see a massive difference in yeah
So
in reports and stuff. Yeah.
so let me dive a little deeper. Did you build that account up from nothing, or did you buy it already at a higher account and then dump more into it?
Actually, it is quite it is not like I just bought an account. I moved to my current alliance. I am a president. I'm the president of 156.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved here with like half T5s and some T4s. And yeah, I've been president here with T5s. And one of the guys, he treated me like a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And when he decided to quit and he got really tired of the game, he allowed me to pilot his account. And then yeah, when he really didn't want to come back, he just gave it to me for a very low price. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
I feel yeah. There's especially nowadays, there's more and more of those larger players that are kind of backing out of the game or things like that, and that's a common story where we have a lot of these larger players either gifting their accounts or donating their accounts or selling their accounts to people who are like yourself or like myself in the region. You know, still putting our hearts into the game, still putting as much as we can into it. So I'm glad that the investment that was put previously is not going to waste. I'm glad that you're obviously doing the best with it. But you're right. There's a huge difference between tier 4, tier 5, and finally getting those tier 6. You know what I mean? Like being able to actually
absolutely.
fight.
I mean, I do have another my own account that I have been building for like about 7 months because I got the account that I have now about 3 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I did spend quite a lot on there, and do have T6s on there too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, a lot of people are just moving on, and yeah.
So let me ask you, what do you think that main reasoning for people getting sick of the game or tired of the game is?
Number one is from what I've seen, because a lot of people that I've played with from the very start when I joined the game, they have been with me for a very long time, and it didn't matter how, how weak we were, as to speak, but it's matching. The matching has been really off.
Mm-hmm.
You get thrown amongst whales, and you can't really move, you can't do anything. And then there's also the fact that they've changed so many events, such as DS,
Oh,
TC.
oh.
Um, that has TC and cutting off DS, even for the T5s. I'm not talking whales, big spenders. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about normal players.
Mm-hmm.
Even they couldn't cope with it anymore, and I've seen it happen. Um, it's it's been like we had so many I had so many friends, and the alliance had so many good members, but then TC changed. And then I saw a drastic change in activity.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you remember when AR was back to back and back to back and back to back, and people were very unhappy.
Are you talking about
The
AR or
same.
Genesis War?
No, I'm talking about AR when it was first introduced.
Oh yeah, and they did the same thing that they did with Genesis War before they went. Okay, hold
Yeah,
on. Oh, we're just having a little bit of technical difficulties. Just hold on 1 second.
and yeah, no problem.
Sorry, you cut out here for a second. I gotta ask you to redo that.
Yeah, which part?
Just the last question that you were talking about. You cut out right before, like
Oh, okay.
10 seconds ago.
Yeah, yeah, just like we had this, like when AR was back to back,
Mm-hmm.
we did, I did notice a big drop of activity in the alliance. And then when they did that with GW, because GW is so sort of like the timing is so like on point, and people can't make it work. Um, Actually, people started quitting the game after GW. Noxy lost our biggest whale. He just gave up. And he's been there for a very long time. He's the founder. And he gave up because he just couldn't keep up anymore. So it is really the events, and it is really how much people have to spend to keep having fun. And then when you spend and you don't have fun anymore, people just quit.
Yeah, what's the point in spending anymore if you're not having fun?
Yeah, it was not fun. It was just frustrating because people were unhappy in the alliance, and yeah, it just didn't work anymore.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a common consensus so far, that they've really kind of just put the foot to the floor and released a whole bunch of things very, very quickly, and people are having a tough time just keeping up. Not even just expanding or growing, but just keeping it where they were before.
Exactly that. And then you have to also consider we all have private lives. We
Mm-hmm.
have an actual real life. And what I found is that people started finding that the events that we were having was so focused on timing that they would have to give up real life priorities to sort of be on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is making people quit. And then I know that's not the question you're asking, but there is one huge issue with the game at the moment is that new regions have opened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not getting any new players on the game anymore. So now what I feel, that's just my opinion and my observation, is that IGG puts a lot of pressure on existing strong players who have already invested a lot of money in the game to keep it going, because there are no new members or new players, because imagine when you joined, imagine seeing a 300 million sitting right next to you. How would you feel?
Well, you wouldn't. I mean, it's also why one of the largest consensus is that the game started to take a massive or like a massive fall, when they opened up immigration to regions for so simple and so easy. When they basically made it so that, like you mentioned, 300 mil might players can sit themselves down next to brand new players and literally do whatever they want with no checks and balances.
Yeah.
So as
Yeah,
soon,
so they just quit. Yeah,
yeah,
they just quit and they stop playing.
yeah,
And then you don't have any, so the game is not growing. Basically the existing players who have friends and like myself, I have my alliance. And if I quit, I know it will fall. It will not be great.
mm-hmm,
So like it is we are the people who are keeping it going because there are no new players coming in, because it's just really off-putting and it is really unfair. And you do see it happen a lot. Have you seen how many regional wars are going on? New players stand zero chances, zero chances.
mm-hmm.
And no, I know many alliances said they wanted to help and make changes, but come on, it never really happened. So yeah,
It
I don't
the
I don't
the
know.
The only
Yeah.
protection that new regions have is the 30-day prevention from people migrating into a region that's, you know, less than 30 days old. But after that 30-day mark, I mean, basically all you have now is new players that are jumping into those regions to prep it up for them to come in 30 days. So
Yeah,
it's
but how fast? Be completely honest. How fast can you grow in 30 days as a brand
oh,
new player?
you can't unless you're wailing out and spending hard. But even then, you're never going to be able to compete with the 300 mil guys that land as soon as the 30
There
days
you
is
go.
up.
There you go. Like equipment, there's no that just upgrading heroes and stuff. It's not. It's yeah. There's that like a 30 days period of waiting. Yeah, sure, great. That's better than nothing. But still,
Yeah,
it doesn't really fix it. It doesn't really fix anything, and it
it's not
just
sufficient.
yeah. Yeah. So basically, you the way I see it, um, 30 days for new players to kind of get excited about the game, maybe spend 5, 10 pounds or dollars here and there, and then to find out that I don't know, a massive alliance immigrate to your region, and they're all like T6s and just take over everywhere, and you can't even move around. So
Well,
yeah,
not
I
only
don't know.
not only can you not move around, but a lot of those situations you can't even earn the basic free rewards just for capturing checkpoints or capturing towns or
Yeah,
capturing, you know,
yeah, you
villages,
can. Yeah,
because these guys sit on them. And just like we did, like, I mean, we're kind of part of the problem too. When GROP was originally in 327, right? We were in region 327, which wasn't a bad region. Everything was fine, but we wanted to stretch out on our own. So we jumped to a brand new region right when they first opened. And this was before they
mhm,
added the 30-day restriction.
yeah,
So now before it was a 30-day restricted from events. Now it's 30 days you can't join the region at all. But we jumped right when it was 30-day restriction from events, and we basically took over. So we've got full map bonuses, full map buffs from owning all of the locations that we need to own. And none of the other smaller alliances could have done anything about it because we jumped in and our alliance is already 3 billion might, you know, in a region where
mhm.
you have brand new players. So it was impossible for them to defend against it. We basically got to do what we wanted.
That's
Now,
right.
it
May I just interrupt you and say,
sure.
number one is like I'm really happy that you you realize um you realize this huge thing that you were already 3 billion when you moved there, and they stood no chance.
Mhm.
Many alliances who do move to a brand new region, they do not realize this and they do not see it that way. So I'm really happy to hear that you do realize that, and I do hope that other alliances who did the same realize how we are ourselves, some of us anyway, are responsible for this.
Well, not only that, but like it comes down to accepting that responsibility. So when we came to this region, our entire goal was not to take over the region for our own benefit, right? Like it wasn't there just to rule the region and do our own thing. Our entire goal was to create a region that was accepting, that allowed people to grow. So even the small alliances, there's lots of times when we've given them, you know, capturing of a level 2 or a level 3 city because they needed it for the rewards, or they need access to a checkpoint. So we'll give them access to the checkpoint so then they can build in the middle. Right. So everything we've done in the alliance or in the region is to try to make the region as accessible to as many of the average player as possible, because we understand the average player is at such a detriment to the game right now. And
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. I mean, you guys did it, but you are aware that most do not, right?
mhm, mhm.
I'm not being I'm not being toxic or negative or anything like that,
No, it's
but
it's
it is
very
a fact.
seldom. Yep, it's very seldom to have
It
the
is a
good balanced
fact.
region.
Yeah, it is a fact that many big alliances that do join brand new regions, they do not practice this. And basically, yeah, it is a fact, and yeah, I'm glad though that your alliance is different and give the newer alliances a better chance at getting rewards and capturing villages and checkpoints. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, well done to you guys.
I appreciate it. It's been the kind of common goal when it comes to like everything that I've had in this game. Even when I started the YouTube channel and creating it, it all started from just trying to help my own alliance. Like I had people that were just asking me, basic questions on the game itself. And because they were brand new, and we catered a lot to bringing in brand new players and teaching people the game, a lot of it just stemmed from doing Discord streams to 10 or 12 people in my alliance saying, hey, we want to know how to play the game better. And from there, it's just kind of spread to the exact same community-based thing, being able to share this game and explain it to the average player so that they have a better lineup. And every single player that I can save from leveling Liam to 60 is a win. You know what I'm saying? Like, with every person that I can prevent making the same mistakes I did, it's a win. And I want every average player to have the same footing that every massive player has. That's the only thing I've ever wanted.
Yeah, your intentions are amazing, but it is pretty hard though.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard work, and it does take a lot of time. So there are a lot of factors to consider. I don't know, but I do think that immigration did ruin the game a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that having new players make a game a lot better,
Mm-hmm.
because you have the community keeps on growing.
Right.
And you just mentioned, right, that you wanted to teach your alliance wanted to teach new players how to play the game. This is something that is really underestimated, and not enough people do it. Not enough experienced players do it. I'm telling you this from experience. I've seen it. I remember I have a member, I'm not going to mention her name. She's 110 million might. And she was kicked out by my R4. Um, I'm sorry, it may sound irrelevant, but I'll explain.
Mm-hmm.
She was kicked out because she's 110 million might with very, very low kills.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to her and I said, look, um, I'm not sure. You're very active. I do see you trying. What's wrong? And then she said, well, I don't know how to join restricted rallies. It's restricted. It means I'm restricted and I'm not allowed to join. And then I explained to her it just meant that you have to only send a certain type of troops, and the system wouldn't let you send the wrong type of troops. And it didn't matter which kind of heroes you were sending to a rally.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really matter because only the rally leaders mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since I took her back in the alliance, she has been absolutely amazing. We do not realize often enough that some people have been on the game maybe for long enough, and they want to help and they want to play, they want to have fun, but there are not enough experienced players willing to help, willing to share the knowledge and taking the time to do so. So I think that is a very important thing, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
really glad you mentioned it.
Well,
Honestly, I really do.
not to mention the fact that the game itself doesn't really have a great mechanic for like a tutorial, right? Like the tutorial that you play at the beginning of the game is not anything to do with what the game really is.
No, no,
The
that's
way
right.
that the story at the beginning has nothing to do with the way that the game is actually played. There's no real mechanics. The developers are still pretty shady with, even releasing how their damage is actually calculated. So everything we've had to do is all based on conjecture and based on, assumptions. So it becomes very
Yeah,
difficult for an average player to understand,
absolutely.
like I don't know how many players I've talked to nowadays, who are larger players, even 60, 70, 80 million might, who don't understand the premise that the co-leader literally doesn't bring anything except their skills. Like,
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
armaments on their
that's right.
co-leaders. They've got, talents on their co-leaders, and wondering why they're not doing more when, these are simple things that the average player should know, but there should be mechanics within the game to teach you that.
But it's not common. It's not something that, yeah, like you said, it's not explained. It's not in any tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even their fault, because they're unless we tell them, because we are experienced and we've been on the game for a while and we know how it works. So if we do not share that, there is no way of them knowing so.
Exactly.
So yeah. So teaching or explaining or having the time to guide newer players is it is it is almost like a key factor. If Because look, you can have a big alliance with, I don't know, let's say 12 massive whales, and then the rest are T5s. But if your T5s are not aware of how it all works, you will fall.
Or even in what their
So
T5s are capable of doing.
yeah. So actually, I don't know. It seems like um, people who do know the game and how it works, if we do not share our experiences and our knowledge, yeah, I don't think it's gonna work for much longer. And I think this is why you see matching getting harder and harder. And to win, like I've been in G2, if you're not spending, you will. Like with 190 million mites, I was unable to even cope in G2. I
Mm-mm.
felt like I was T3 again.
Mm-hmm.
So now imagine being T4 or T5 in G2 because like my members who are T5s, they were in my alliance. They stood zero chance. And it is like that because the might is high, but then people don't know how to play the game. And yeah, it just ends up in chaos and people just quit.
Well, I was
And then
talking.
there's nothing,
Yeah, I was talking
you can't
to
turn it around. Yeah.
not only that, but I was talking
Sorry.
to no, it's okay. We're both fairly passionate about the subject, so it's totally fine. I don't remember exactly
Yeah.
who I was talking to, but the topic came out when we were talking. I think I was talking to Bad Boy, and the topic came out about hyper focusing troops. Like I'm a firm believer, no matter how you play your game, unless you're wailing on everything so that it doesn't really matter. I'm a firm believer that your best bet in order to stay strong is to develop, one super strong line or one super strong type of troops. Like my main account, for
Yeah.
example, is infantry. So everything that I do for my equipment, everything I do for my technology, everything I do for my armaments, all that kind of stuff is all based on getting the best infantry lines that I can get. Right. So
Mhm.
following that hyper focus, the problem is because they've released so many different things to focus on, it becomes six of one, half a dozen of the other. Before it was, all you had to worry about were your equipment and your parts. Well, then they introduced armaments, and now they introduced the vehicle, and now they've got skins, and now they've got super weapons. And these are all different things that, yes, they make tier 5 more efficient. Like, tier 5 can now combat with tier 6 on a much more even playing field. However, it also means that tier 6s get spanked by, tier 5s that have better vehicle score, because that
Mhm.
individual
Yep.
person
Yep.
invested so much more
Yep.
in their
That's right.
vehicle, right?
Mhm.
And so, with how much stuff that the game has released, it just gives the player a much more convoluted time to experience what it is that they want to get out of the game,
Mm. Yeah.
right? So that becomes my now. I have to mention one thing because we've been effectively sitting here ragging on this game for the last 20 minutes, which I don't want to do because this is honestly one of my favorite games.
W- We're not. We're not. No, we're simply. I think we. I think the reason we are going on and on about this is because we really do not want the game to be ruined,
Exactly.
and we do want it to keep going, and we do love the community,
Mm-hmm.
and we do like the game itself. And I don't think we're ragging it, or we're not sort of. Yeah, I don't think we're berating it either. I think we're just discussing what may be um the reason why so many players are quitting,
Yeah.
and it affects a lot. So yeah, that's what I think.
The only reason I mention that is because I'm actually curious what keeps you coming back. I mean, we can sit and talk about, what things have created friction in the community, what things have caused issues in the community. But what I really like to know is what is about the game that keeps bringing you back every single day, that keeps you, making contacts inside the community, inside the EC boards, like the channel language channels, inside the alliance chats and stuff like that. What brings you back every day?
It is really, really simple, and you've literally just answered your own question indirectly. It is the community, it is the people. And you know what? That's why we had this really long 20 minutes talk. It is the people. And that's what keeps bringing me back. It is the people. It is events can suck and matching can suck. We can lose. We can at the end of the day, you've made connections on the game. You've built a relationship, sort of a friendship with those people that you've met, and it really does encourage you to keep going. It does make you want to come back because you want to work together. Um, that's all it is for me.
You are, I think, hitting the nail right on the head. This is again, a very common, expression from the community itself, and from the player base itself. One of the best parts about this game, yes, it's a war game, and yes, you want to build up your troops, and yes, there's fighting involved, and yes, there's strategy, and yes, there's collaboration, and there's alliances, and there's a lot of that context that goes with it. But the major thing that most people take away from this game is the fantastic community that comes with it. The relationships that you create, the friendships that you create, the ones that span thousands of miles. I don't even know how many real life relationships that I know started in this game, where people started in this game, chatting in this game, met up in real life, and are now dating or married or in relationships or play the game together. Like, it's an
Absolutely.
amazing place to go just to be yourself
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
same
and
place as other people
and
being
and
themselves.
before I forget, I'm sorry for cutting you off. I
No,
keep
no,
doing
that's
it.
okay. It's all good. I do the same thing.
It's
I'm an
my fault.
overtalker.
Sorry. But just before I forget, there is one thing I always tell people, and people don't get it. I don't think they really do. And I wish that I really do wish they did. And I do it on events. Like I always say it on event chats and on the EC, is that people do not realize one simple thing. People are toxic to one another, but there is one thing they do not understand. It is a game. A lot of people say, chill out. It is just a game. Yes, it is just a game, but the people are real. The people you're playing with, the alliance you're in, they all consist of real,
Mm-hmm.
actual people.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to understand this a little bit more, because this is what retain members, players in the game, in the alliance, and it is also what make people quit. So it
Yeah.
is a very important thing. It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just a game, but the people are the people are real.
Well, you bring up
That's
a
it.
really
As
interesting
simple as that.
point. You bring up an interesting point, in the sense that a lot of the games that we play, just in real life, you're dealing with NPCs. You're dealing with
Yeah,
the computer behind
but
a screen, right?
yeah,
Something that doesn't exist.
yeah,
So you can troll a computer as much as you want because there's nothing that happens. But just like you said, there are real people with every step of this game. There are real people, real responsibilities, real relationships, real connections that you're making with people. Um, and
and
it
they're spending their money. They're spending their hard-earned money on that. It does mean a lot, because you are investing in it. And as in real life, the way you show you care is by investing. And this may sound stupid, and I know many people are against spending on a game, but when you do really care, you will invest.
well,
So when people invest,
yeah.
they do care. They do care, and it is just simple psychology. And I'm not berating the game. I'm not slagging it off, but I do I do feel that sometimes people who do spend get hated on a lot.
Well, I
But
think
it only means that people really they not only want to get strong, but it is something they're very passionate about.
right.
And it is just a game, of course, but you want to be stronger for your team. For me, it is the biggest motivator. The reason I keep growing my account and keep like pushing, even though when I think, oh, okay, it's just a game, I'd rather get a tattoo or something.
Hmm.
But then again, I do spend a lot of hours on here. I do want to get stronger for my team.
Well, that's what
So
I wanted to mention. Like, the biggest thing about this game is not necessarily even just investing your money, right? Your hard-earned money. It's the sheer amount of time that people put into this game, right? That makes it a solid investment as well. And in investing
mhm.
in those relationships and investing in, those responsibilities, even if you don't spend a dime in the game, the point is you still have value regardless of your financial input, you still have value to the alliance. You still
You
have
do.
value to the game,
You
and to
do.
the
Yeah.
relationships that you create. So it's one of those things where I just go, the investment is not necessarily just a financial investment. It's also,
Oh no, no, no,
that
no,
investment of
no. You're right.
time.
It is, and you could spend thousands on the game, but if you're not investing your time, you're not getting anywhere.
Hmm.
So without the time invested in there, you're really not going to get anywhere because you do need to be on there. You do need to, be active and participate to be able to achieve anything at all.
And you need
So
to
yeah,
farm.
you're absolutely correct.
And you need to farm a lot.
Well, yeah, resources is like the the key of
Oh
everything. You
man.
can't heal, you can't train, you can't you can't build, you can't research without resources. So yeah, you do need to be active.
I think that's also one of the main factors that we look at. We started to look at when we look at recruiting people. It's not like we went through the whole stint too, where it's like we have a couple of 100 million might players who have 100 million might. They're just getting their tier 6, but they've got like a million kills, right? Just like you had that same experience with the player um,
Yeah,
in your team.
in my lines, yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have those players, and it's a funny scenario, especially when you're looking at the difference between tier 5 and tier 6, when those players are finally starting to dip their toes into fighting. Right? Like we had
Yeah.
one who started with us and he joined us, and the only reason why he said he didn't have more kills is because his alliance wouldn't let them participate. Like
Yeah.
right? So if they're not allowed to fight, then they can't get kills. So I understand that. And in the short time that he's been with us, he's like quadrupled, septupled his kills just from getting
Mm-hmm.
out there and actually doing it, because he's got the capability of doing that now. And again, that comes down to the community. So if you find yourself in an alliance that isn't doing the things that we talk about, isn't helping you, helping you learn, you're in a region that doesn't share buffs or any of that kind of stuff, I'll tell you right now, you're probably doing yourself a disservice in the game. Find yourself an alliance that gives a shit
Absolutely.
about you.
Absolutely. And can I bring up one little thing that
Of course, this is your
I've
time.
seen uh, I've seen many alliances give their members a minimum point achievement per event. So you've got to have like a minimum amount of points, otherwise you get kicked out. And you know what? I've tried it. I was against it. I've tried it. And some of my best members could not achieve those points because they were too busy sharing resources with those who were much stronger and were able to sort of hold towers and um, survive on field.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They were the best. They were the absolute best members that helped, but they did not have the best points. They didn't have the best trades in terms of reports because whenever they wanted to join rallies, when we didn't have enough field support, they kept getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
They kept on, and they couldn't, their hospitals were filled up. But I do see many alliances putting that sort of pressure on members. You need to have a minimum of this and this amount of points. But if you're not really watching your members, if you're really not paying attention, it is very easy to get rid or dismiss or discourage really, really good members. And trades is really what give you points. And this is one of the things that I've seen many alliances doing, and it for me, for my alliance, it was almost like a make or break.
So
So
I need to interrupt here for a second. Are you sure you
no,
haven't just been in my R4 room?
no,
Cause
no, I haven't.
are you sure? Cause like you're explaining the exact progression of what GROP has gone through over the past month.
No, I
Like pretty much to a
haven't.
T. So I feel very much like you're trolling me now. You're active in my R4 chats or
No, I
something. Cause we just did that
no, I
exact same
promise.
thing. We went through a stint where we were hyper focused on results. And it wasn't like we're setting point requirements that are well outside of capabilities, right? Like
Yeah, same
the
here.
the
We
the
weren't like yeah, we were not being excessive about.
right.
We were just being reasonable. Yeah.
Right. So it's like if you for example you've got tier 6 troops, and if for example you're above 100 mil, then obviously we probably expect you to get close to the maximum amount of points that you can get because you're fighting lots. If you're only
Hmm.
tier 5, then we probably only anticipate like 30 million points in an event type thing.
Hmm.
But what it can, and I'll be honest, I still support the idea of sharing those numbers and putting that, not pressure, but giving goals and giving targets to acquire for. Now, what we did was we made the mistake of dismissing a bunch of people, in order to lower might, in order to make sure that we had the
Hmm.
most competitive players.
Hmm.
But like you mentioned, the matchmaking is so atrocious that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I've come to terms with the fact that the
It
matchmaking
does
is so
not.
bad, it doesn't matter. Cutting your weight, cutting your might, all that shit is irrelevant because the matchmaking is so trash.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when you make those rules, and then if you're not really watching, the thing with me is I keep watch, and I observe, and I do know my members really well.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not paying attention, you will dismiss you will dismiss your best members. And they would give all the troops away to
Mm-hmm.
support the alliance, to support you in war. So the matchmaking doesn't allow them to give you those points that you want them to get.
Are you sure
Because
you're
they
not in my
do
R4
you
chat?
do you do you think they don't want to get those points? Do you really think they don't want to get those rewards? Of course they do. They really do. Uh, and there's one more thing. We do not allow PvP. But if you're going to put so much pressure on them to get those points, they might as well ignore everything else and just go do PvP and get those points you so really want as leaders.
You
So
mentioned you
a
mentioned
leader.
PvP, and I gotta cut in here. You mentioned PvP because it's a very controversial issue. Whether you
It
allow
is.
your absolutely whether you allow your alliance to do PvP or not. In GROP, for example, it's situational. If the matchmaking has screwed us out entirely, and there's absolutely no way we can win. Like in our last AR, for example, our Legion had less tier 6s in the entire Legion than one
Hmm.
one alliance in the opposing legions had. So our
Okay.
our entire legion had less tier 6s than one alliance in their entire legion. So we knew
Hmm.
there was nothing we could do. We got pushed back on both sides. We're stuck in our area. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. You
only
can't.
thing
No,
we
you
can do for
can't.
points at that point is PvP.
Yeah.
And so in a
Yeah.
situation like that, we're like, okay, PvP is fine.
Yeah.
However, if it's like a balanced game, if you end up getting a good fight and you're not participating in the fight and instead you're doing PvP, well, there's a problem there.
There is a problem, but then if you're going to be telling people you're going to kick them out because they do not have enough points and they do want to join your rallies, and the rallies are sometimes not giving you the greatest trades,
Yeah.
so in turns you're not even getting good points.
Mm-hmm.
What other options are you giving them? You're not allowing them to do PvP, and the matching is bad. They stand no chance in getting proper. They're not able to fight properly
Mm-hmm.
because obviously getting smashed on field by huge whales. What do we expect them to do?
Well, exactly. And especially as soon as you're
Mm.
fighting on the fields and your hospital fills up quite quickly, I mean, there's not much you can do after you've been taking the beatings you can.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I've come to realize, and I've only introduced it once, and I looked around and I thought, well, my best members did not have the best points, but the most. So yeah.
Yeah, we made that mistake. We're trying to repair it now. But I'll tell you one thing, it definitely changes the dynamic of the alliance. When
It
it
does.
happens. And what I didn't take into account, like again, I'll be the first person to say I still support sharing like we would make a report, for example, after the event, and it would break down everyone's what we call ratio. So how many points you got based on what your might is. And so it was kind of a representative of your might. If, for example, you only had 10 million points, well, you're not expected to get a lot. But even if you get like 3 million points, you've got a 0.3 ratio, which is pretty okay, right? And then it would basically be something that we would put out to the alliance and say, this is how we did. Turns out, and I don't know why this is still something that doesn't make sense to me. When you do that to humans, they don't respond well. Now,
can I interrupt you just right
sure.
here? You do realize that training gives a lot of points too.
Mm-hmm.
So the way of going on about it, it can be really deceiving.
Yeah.
So what you just mentioned reminded me of that. So is that something you've considered? Is that something you've taken into consideration when looking at the reports and sort of working through it? Is that something that you've looked into?
Well, on the reports we were also keeping track of like kills from event to event, so we can see how active you are in regards to participation versus like where you're getting your points from.
Yeah.
And I guess the biggest thing is that we never dismissed anybody based on their points. A lot of the points were used just as a determination to figure out who needed the most amount of help and stuff. But it also became a situation where there was times where like we had one player in specific who was religious to the alliance, absolutely loved the alliance, would do everything for the alliance, was a free-to-play player, growing as best as they could, doing absolutely everything they could, but signing up for Pompei, for example, in the entire event, they would only net 1,000 points or 1,200 points in the entire Pompei.
Okay.
And that would be every Pompei that they were ever in.
But that's not a bad thing. I have members. Like Nox is amazing, and I would never say anything bad about my alliance. But I do have an issue with Pompei because some members will go field fighting, and their might will increase massively because of their points. Their Pompei might will go really up. So I actually do not have a problem with members who score very little points because it just means they are killing zombies or they are joining rallies and they're reinforcing every single building that they can, even if it's not being hit. So I don't know. You might think differently, but for me, yeah,
there is a balance there for sure. But over the full hour, if you're clearing zombies and you're gathering, doing all the small stuff that you can do yourself, you should still be amassing at least the minimum or at least the maximum 15,000 points for the maximum rewards.
Maybe so. But I do ask my members to. So see, I agree with you. They're completely. I'm not disagreeing with you. But I did ask them to reinforce. I did ask them not to engage in field fights, because that was our downfall from like 10 win streaks to absolutely getting smashed every single time because people were just they were just focused on field fighting. So their points dropped, but buildings were reinforced. And those buildings don't always get attacked, but they are reinforced, so they don't get the points. So, like in my situation, I don't really like look into points when it comes to Pompei because of this very small thing that if they're sending all 5 squads to reinforce buildings, they can't possibly be earning points. So I don't know.
Right, but here's the difference. If they are, if let's say for example they are reinforcing 5 buildings, okay, and let's say they aren't able to farm and they've chosen 5 buildings that never get attacked, okay, they still earn points for garrisoning those buildings over time. There's still points that they earn from that way, right? And
that's also true.
The problem that I see there is not that it's not whether they only get 1,000 points in one event. But with Pompei being the fact that you can only sign up 30 people, and we were religiously signing up 35, right? So we're
Okay.
always overcapping our goals because we always have people wanting to play. It comes down to the
Yeah, on
situation
weekends.
of, do
Yeah.
I let them continue playing knowing that they're only going to amass 1,000 points, or do I let someone else who's going to amass even 15,000 so that at least they get the max rewards, win or loss? You see what I'm saying? So it becomes a situation where, if it was just points
But
based on like GW or AR or IR, where the event isn't based on, like it's based on
mhm.
everybody being able to participate. In Pompei, it's a specific list. So doesn't it make sense that you want to make sure that you're putting in your top 30 players during that event?
Absolutely, yeah, you do want that. But for me, it's the struggle has been that my players really, my members really want to fight
Mm-hmm.
on field and do not realize the importance of reinforcement. So yeah, yeah, for me, I do wish I had more members who were willing to reinforce rather than engage in field fights and get personal points,
Mm-hmm.
because those personal points really do not get you any extra rewards. You would, like, if you lose, you will get the exact same rewards. Then yeah, like your rankings don't matter.
As long as you hit above
So
15,000 points. Yep.
yeah, and for me that's been a real issue, that people really want to fight on field and ignore the fact that you need to reinforce buildings.
Yeah, or
So
starting rallies and counter rallies properly.
yeah, yeah, that's right. So yeah, I think we have different yeah, issues here, because yeah, you probably have yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But for me, yeah, I struggle to find members who are willing to just sit still just for a little bit longer, just to be just to get,
They just want to
like,
get out there and bang troops.
yeah, I
Yeah.
have put my best garrison in there just to reinforce it, and we'll be fine.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But no, they want to get out there and and yeah,
Well,
burn stuff and kill stuff.
and not only that, but let's be honest, there's some things in Pompei that are specifically put there just to distract you. Like, if you look at the point systems, the operations bases provide you 120 points, or 100, I think it's 160 points a minute just for holding them, right? The 4 operations
Hmm.
bases. But the forward outposts only give you 20 points per minute. So even if you hold all 6 outposts of the forward outposts, they don't even equate to 1 of the operations bases. So you could ignore all 6 forward outposts and only
Hmm.
focus on the operations
Yeah,
bases. But people would rather
that's what I do.
take their troops,
That's what
walk
I
around
do.
trying to take the forward outposts. I'm like, why are we reinforcing those? Those aren't important. We've got 4
But
targets
that's
we
what
need to
I do.
reinforce.
That's what I do. But my members are not willing to sit in them. They just want to go and fight.
Yeah. Well, I've
And
been trying to send one garrison to at least 1 or 2 operations bases from now on.
yeah. Hmm.
But it's so hard when you want to fight. Like, I want to bring my troops and I want to smash the
You do.
opponent.
You do.
It's
But
free.
yeah, and you don't really suffer from it. So
That's
yeah, but
right.
like I am putting 2 garrisons in, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and I only have 3 marches left, and then one is for rallies.
Mm-hmm.
So I really only have 2.
And one's
I
got to
really
be for that bio canister. So now you're at 1.
yeah. So now, so now if you're not going to reinforce it, what's the point? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to be patient with Pompey. Like, if you're not, you just. But yeah, yeah, my alliance struggle with this a little bit. This is our weakest point, that everyone just want to get out there with 5 full marches and fight on field, and do not realize that yeah, you do need to reinforce these 6 main buildings
And
and
you do need to
keep them.
rally, man. You do need to start rallies and joining rallies and making sure you're joining from the right side of where they're started from. Like, I don't know how many times I see people trying to run across the map to join a rally. I'm like, what? You're wasting the benefit of the rally. Like,
Yeah. And also, I was really surprised because Noxy is quite an old alliance, and 156 is quite an older region now,
mm-hmm.
considering people do not realize you need to defend the helipad. The the helipad is it is key. So if you're not gonna have proper garrison in that, they're not gonna reinforce. You're gonna lose it, and
Yeah,
then
and
you
then you're
can forget
screwed.
the rest of Pompeii. You can forget about it. So
Oh, and
I don't
it's
know.
as soon as they
Yeah,
clear your helipad and send you all home, I think the game is over at that point. You know what I mean?
it
Like
is.
there's
It is.
because now you're
It
rallying
is.
from your starting point, and that's so long. Oh, that's a hard
They have
repair.
plenty. They have plenty of time. I have really good riders. They have plenty of time to chase my riders and kill that rider rally.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And if the rally does reach that helipad that they've captured, yeah, rest in peace, because they can just swarm that rally and it's over with. They can counter rally.
And you
They
know that
can do
they're gonna
whatever
have
they
their
like.
big 100 million players that move in to do that too.
Absolutely.
Ugh.
So yeah, so so yeah, there are quite a few.
But that's what I
There are
love
quite a few.
Pompeii for. It's so hectic and chaotic and amazing and fun and
Oh,
stressful.
it is stressful. Do you know how much I yelled? Do you know how much I yelled during Pompeii? And I almost never yell at my members, but when it comes to Pompeii, if you read the chats and you see me talking on there, you'll
Everything's
be
in
really
caps.
surprised. I get really mad. I'm like, I'm really surprised I haven't smashed my screen yet because you guys are driving me insane. They drive me insane. I get so frustrated.
Yeah,
Oh my
Pompeii brings
god.
out the worst in a lot of people. I know, for example, like I put my Pompeii on every week on YouTube,
Mhm.
and I watch through it afterwards. And many times I can, like when we're losing and things like that, and even when we're winning, but we're doing stupid things. Like I'll give you a prime example. One of my biggest pet peeves in Pompeii: when you first capture your helipad, weak
Mhm.
players moving first.
Yes.
I
Oh my
cannot.
god.
Why is it a race for everybody to try to relocate all at once? No, you send your strongest players first. If you are under,
Yes.
like if you're only tier
Because there
4,
are limited spaces on there. There are very limited spaces on the helipads. You ideally want your strongest members
mm-hmm,
there because the weaker ones can't possibly defend it, and then they will end up getting burned.
mm-hmm,
They will end up getting zeroed. So what's the point? Um,
exactly, exactly.
and then the helipad is captured. They've been zeroed. They will get relocated back to where they started. Um, and then good luck taking back that helipad.
Well, not only that, but once you get burned at home numerous times and you have no troops left, the game's over. What are you gonna do? And I tell
Exactly.
everybody,
So
don't heal in
so even
Pompeii.
those who do, okay, even those who do still have troops and are really strong and have been where they started, you can't. It would be really tough to get that helipad back
Mm-hmm.
and teleport there and then pick up the game again. It is almost impossible.
And in that entire time, they're holding operations bases and getting farther and farther away in points.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So it's one of those things where I'm like,
And
I have to send out a mail. Like I have a huge mail that I'm planning to send out to my alliance to basically give a whole bunch of like, don't fucking be one of those people. Pardon my French.
oh my god.
But
I need to
like,
send you screenshots. I need to
like
send you screenshots of my Pompei mail. I
it
think you're gonna love them because we sound very, very similar.
it just blows my mind.
I
I'm like, if you're tier 4 and we're up against 6 tier
Mm.
6s, why are you relocating up front? Period. Ever.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. I sent some pretty harsh mails on Tuesday before Pompei about the
Man,
same thing.
every time it gets me. But I mean, what are you gonna do? I'm not gonna kick people because they choose to relocate. It's more that I'm just annoyed that someone relocates and then I can't. You know what I mean? Like they get there before I do, and I'm not up front, and now I can't fight.
I did end up I did end up kicking 3 members on Tuesday
Uh
because
oh,
of Pompei.
because of
Yeah,
Pompeii.
I did. Yeah, because of Pompei. They kept on repeating the same mistakes, and it takes me an hour to strategize and build up teams
Yeah.
for Pompei. And they didn't follow it. So yeah.
Well,
Um,
it follows the same
I
it follows the same ideology. If you don't read the alliance mail chats,
mhm,
like if I send you a
yeah,
mail and you don't read it, I don't care if you're here or not, because obviously you don't care if I'm here or not. You know?
Exactly.
Like if
So yeah, I kicked people out. And I don't really feel bad about it because you know, at the end of the day, I owe it to my to the members who do read, who do follow instructions and
yep,
do it properly and do really want to sort of give it their best. And now we're gonna let a couple of people ruin it, and it does ruin the entire thing.
of course it
And it's a
does.
make or break. So yeah. Um,
Especially if you're on like a
yes.
long win streak. You know what I mean? Like we just came off an 11 win streak.
Ooh, congrats. That's really nice.
Well, no, we lost, so I'm pissed off. But
Yeah,
but we
you
were doing
lost.
good, you know.
But you know, an 11 win streak is really nice. It just shows that, you know, your team is really well put together, and you do know what you're doing, and you know, you've got a really good thing going. And then yeah, I do understand that, you know, losing that 11 win streak just because of yeah, I do get that.
Yeah, especially when you have people. It's like when you have strong people who have been there to support it and have done really well, and then just like all of a sudden wake up and start shit in the bed one morning. I don't understand. Like how we were doing real good. You know, you were following guidelines and regulations, and everything was good. And then all of a sudden today, you just woke up with a thumb, you know, a stick shoved somewhere it shouldn't have been, and now we're
Oh
on
my
a
God.
0 again. Like, ugh.
Okay, no, we are reading each other's minds. Um, oh my God, what's going on? This is
I
insane.
told you you're in my
Um,
R4 chat. I'm telling you.
this is really insane because I swear to God, I had my some of my members were amazing at following instructions, and then suddenly this it's like their memories just left them, and
Someone else
like
is using their account.
yeah, and then they forgot how to play Pompei again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a little bit spooky. This is crazy.
So now we're back on a 0 win streak. I think we're on 2 losses now, which is really sitting not so good with me. But you know,
Yeah, same here. We are on our second lose streak again.
you gotta lose them
And
before you can start winning.
you know what really frustrated me?
Hmm.
Noxie registered with really good whales. We had the absolute best garrison and the best rallies. And I'm 190 million mites.
Right.
We had another 180 million mites and another 220 million mite register. And the opponents, the strongest member was 150 million mites. And we lost.
Wow.
We
How?
lost. Because members did not reinforce.
Oh no.
They did not join. They did not join rallies,
They thought
and
it was going to be an easy win.
they did not. They did not read. They did not read things, and yeah, that really, really angered me. It angered me. It angered me to the point I left the alliance. I was so mad. I was just like, you know, I've put so much time and effort in it. We
Yeah.
got a really good. They always complain about matching. We got a really good matching this time. Now, what's your excuse?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? So sometimes we need to look into our own alliance. We need to look at our
Yep.
own performances rather than blaming IGG for everything, because the game matching is, yeah, it messes up a lot, but sometimes we do get good matching.
Yeah.
And when you do, and then you lose, it makes you reflect back onto your own team. So yeah.
I think there's an analogy out there. I think it goes a broken clock is right twice a day. So
Mm-hmm.
like the matchmaking might be broken, but you will get good matchmaking every now and again, you know? And you got to take advantage of
Yeah,
that. And it's just unfortunate, but at least it does give you the capability to reflect on your own self-play. I think
absolutely.
any opportunity that gives you a
Absolutely.
chance to reevaluate your own work
Yeah,
is an opportunity that if you don't take advantage of it and progress from it, you're really missing out.
you are. And I think yeah, that Pompey really made me realize that there was really something wrong with the way we're doing things, and I was being a little bit maybe too soft on my members,
Yeah.
which I hate to admit, but sometimes we've got to admit it, and we've got to look into improving and getting better. And I did really appreciate the alliance that won against us, because I really respect them because I'm really like the players I had in Garrison, they were really tough to break.
Hmm.
And they managed to do it. They managed to pull through. I had a lot of respect for them. I really appreciated the way they played.
And I think that right there just kind of speaks to your character, and especially like your commitment to the game. Because if you can come out of a loss, you know, respecting the people that you played against, understanding that they played better than you did today, and you can walk away
Mm.
with your head held high, knowing that even though you tried your best, you know, you were bested in that situation. That by its own right just speaks wonders to the wealth of your own character. So that's pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you. That's really, really kind. But yeah, I did have mad respect for the way they played. They
Mm.
played together, they played as a team. They came together. We were really scary to them because we were really big whales, and their biggest whale was 150 million mites, and we've beaten them in the past.
Right.
And they didn't back down. They were relentless. They kept coming and coming, and they didn't stop. They kept getting killed. We kept on like swarm, but they never stopped. They kept
Hmm.
on. It was amazing. It was really nice to see.
And I think that by its own right is one of the biggest things that a lot of alliances need to start to understand. Although you have imbalances in whales and in dolphins and in the player basing and the matchmaking can be crap and things like that, a lot of this game can be balanced by coordination, strategy, and overall participation. Like a lot of the wins that we
Absolutely.
had in our 11 streak, you know, were situations where just like that, we came up against who we thought would be better players or more concentrated, right? So we had a couple of players above 100 million, but we've got a max 30 squadron versus opponents who only have 18 players, but you know, 5 or 6 more tier 6 than us. And the only thing that kept us going, or the only thing that kept us winning, was that we were able to effectively just over participate them. So we had 10 times as many players or as many marches on the field that they did in comparison.
Yep.
So understanding that numbers do bring benefits as well. It's not just about how many whales you have.
No,
Don't get me wrong,
it's
they
not.
help,
Trust me.
right? They help.
It does help. It does help because you do have very strong garrisons and very strong
Right.
rallies.
Right. The leaders of
But
those
if you're
marches.
not if you're not well put together and you're not playing as a team, yeah, you're not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah.
Unity, within the team, within the alliance, is a make or break, in my experience. And what you just said is absolutely correct, and I fully agree.
Perfect. Well, we have been chatting now for over an hour. I cannot believe it has gone through that fast. This has been an
I'm so
amazing
sorry.
conversation.
I'm so sorry. This
No, no,
this has been really this has been really, really amazing. I really enjoyed this.
don't
This
ever
was
apologize. This has been fantastic. Okay. This has been a great conversation. I've had a ton of fun.
thank you.
I'm so
Me
glad
too.
you've joined us on the episode. But I do have one last question I want to ask you before we end up sending off here for the day. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
If you had the developer's ear, let's say hypothetically a developer tuned into this episode, saw your episode, and were listening at this certain situation, what would you tell the developers? What would be the advice that you would give them
hmm
to allow this game the longest lifespan that we can get out of it?
I would ask them to allow new players to join at a more comfortable pace. I would ask them to allow new players to join and have a chance without whales immigrating into their region and not allowing them to grow and getting intimidated or pushed around, or maybe relying on the mercy of the bigger alliances that do move in, that have been in the game for way, way, way longer and have a much bigger advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think without new players joining in, the game will eventually die because yeah, people are selling, quitting, or just abandoning their accounts. That
Giving
would be
them
the only
away.
thing I would
Yep,
say.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Freya, you
Yeah.
make a ton of good points. As I said, this has
So
been
do you.
one of the
So do
most
you.
entertaining conversations I've had on this channel in a while. So again, I really want to say thanks for
Oh, I
joining us and taking
appreciate
your
it.
time out of the
Thank
day.
you. Yeah,
And
thank you.
but
Thank you. And I'm so sorry I kept putting you. I'm
oh
so sorry
no,
for the other day.
no,
I
no.
was really hungover, and everyone can hear this. I was so hungover. I was like, I forgot what time it was. So thank you for your patience, and you're amazing. Keep up the really good work.
I appreciate it. I
And
appreciate it.
thank you for being really kind to people on the EC. It's refreshing to watch, and you're amazing. So yeah, thank you, and yeah, have a great rest of the week,
I'm
and yeah,
blushing. I'm
see you around.
blushing. Hold on, my dog is going nuts here for some second. All of a sudden, no, but truth be told, like I said, the only reason why I do this is because I do love this game a lot. I mean, half the reason why
Mhm.
we're in these combats, or half the reason why we're in these conversations, is because we as the community base, we as the player base, want to do everything we can to keep this game around as long as we can. We love this game. It is something that brings us all a ton of joy and happiness. Even if there are some situations that are frustrating and situations that are annoying, there's a ton that brings this community together that makes this game something absolutely fantastic. So from
Mhm.
everybody here, I
Yeah,
got one last thing for you. Go ahead and give a shout out to any of the specific players you want to say hi to, or any specific regions you want to say hi to, or your own alliance. Go ahead and give a shout out to any of your friends of the game. Freya?
yeah, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah. Go ahead and give a shout out. So say hello to any of the friends that you
You were,
want, or your
I thought you
alliance.
were, I thought you were referring to people that were watching. Yeah, I do really want to say thank you to my own alliance actually. And yeah, my R4s are amazing. Hyperion, he has my back at every step, and he's when I wanted to quit a couple of weeks ago, maybe not a couple of weeks ago, quite a few weeks ago, he had my back. He gave me the break I needed. Sacrificed quite a lot to let me have a break, so I wouldn't have to quit. And yeah, to actually everyone who have been kind to like people like you who keep the game going. So yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, I really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you too. Thank you very much for joining us, Freya. It has been an absolute blast getting to know you. Again, that is
Mhm.
Freya. She is at about 190 million might. She's been on the game for a little over a year. She is the president of Region 156.
That's right.
I got it right. My brain is actually working. So she's the president of 156. She's been there for a while. You'll probably see her in the English chats and things like that. If you haven't already, she does spend a lot of time around there anyway. Very, very predominant member of the community. So go ahead and if you do want to make a shout out to her, go ahead and do so. But that being said, folks, thanks very much for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, fill out the notification bell, share the stream with your friends, let everybody know about it. If you want to get involved, reach out to me in chat or in the comment section below. Find me in game, and let's get the interviews out there. The more the people we can talk to, the better. But that being said,
Absolutely.
we are going to end it there. Love, peace, chicken grease, and until next time,
See you later.
stay
Bye.
lifted.